My brothers, my sisters, my beloved children of the Almighty, hear me when I tell you this. Life will bend you, but it will not break you if you lean on God. The storms will roar, the nights will stretch long, and your tears may soak the pillow until it is heavy with sorrow. Yet I came to remind you there is a power greater than your pain. There is a hand stronger than your struggle. And on the appointed day, when you thought you had been forgotten, the Lord Himself will step in. This 20th day of September is not just another square on the calendar. It is a promise. It is a reminder that what God has spoken will not return void. It is the season when the wounded will be healed, when the lost will be found, when the desperate will rise with hope singing in their chest. Beloved, let me lean in close and speak to your weary heart, for I know that life has not been gentle with you all the time. It has carried you through storms that you did not order, into valleys you did not choose, and under clouds so heavy that you wondered if the sun had forgotten your name. But I came to tell you today, trust in God. Trust Him when the wind howls, trust Him when the nights stretch long, trust Him when the cupboard is bare and the bank account whispers shame. Trusting God, my dear, is the foundation, the very cornerstone upon which your soul can stand firm when everything else around you shakes. You see, trust is not just a word we speak when the choir sings sweetly and the preacher shouts amen. No, trust is the quiet decision of the trembling heart to place all its weight upon the invisible arms of the Almighty. Trust is the candle you light in the dark, not knowing how far it will shine, but believing with all your being that the darkness will not overcome it. Trusting God is to walk barefoot across the desert and still believe that streams of living water will bubble up to meet your thirst. Many people confuse trust with control. They think that if they cannot see the plan, if they cannot chart the map, then the journey must not be safe. But hear me, child. Control is an illusion. None of us controls the rising of the sun or the turning of the earth. None of us controls the breath we breathe or the beat of our fragile hearts. Yet every morning the sun greets us with light. Every night the moon blesses us with silver. And every moment the Creator keeps our hearts beating in rhythm with life. Trusting God means releasing that desperate need to hold every piece together and resting in the one who already holds it all. The wise ones of old knew this truth. Abraham, when asked to leave his homeland, had no blueprint, no guarantee, no insurance. But he trusted. He walked into unknown lands because God spoke. Sarah, though her womb was weary and her laughter was bitter, trusted that the promise would come. And it did. Daniel in the lion's den trusted not in iron gates nor guards with spears, but in the God who closes mouths of beasts. Each story, my beloved, sings the same refrain. Those who trust Him are never abandoned. Trusting God is not easy, no. I would not deceive you. It is not a soft pillow or a gentle cradle. It is often a leap into air with no net in sight. It is sometimes to stand with empty hands before a locked door and declare God will open it. It is to face the diagnosis and still whisper, by His stripes I am healed. It is to cry rivers of tears in the midnight hour and still say, joy comes in the morning. That kind of trust is not weakness, it is the highest form of courage. And let me tell you, the world will test your trust. People will disappoint you. Promises will be broken. Friends will walk away. Lovers will forget their vows. Jobs will vanish like smoke. But God, oh yes, God, He will remain. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. His word is not like shifting sand, but like a mountain unmoved by the passing storm. When you lean your life upon Him, you will find yourself held by a strength that never falters. There will be times when trusting God feels like standing in silence. You will pray and the heavens may not thunder. You will call and the answer may not come swiftly. But even then, trust Him. For faith is not built in the noise. It is tempered in the quiet. God works in silence as the seed works in soil. You cannot see the sprouting beneath the earth, yet in time the green shoot breaks through. Just so you cannot always see His hand at work. But in due season the harvest will appear. When you trust God, you give Him permission to rewrite your story. You loosen your grip on the pen and place it back into His mighty hand. And child, He is the master author. He writes redemption into tragedy, beauty into ashes, resurrection into graves. He can take the scattered puzzle of your life and arrange it into a masterpiece that makes angels sing. All he asks is your trust. Now some will ask, but how do I trust when my heart has been broken so many times? How do I trust when I prayed and nothing happened? How do I trust when the pain still lingers? To them I say, trust is not a feeling, it is a choice. You may not feel courageous, but you can choose to step forward anyway. You may not feel strong, but you can choose to keep moving. Trust is the willful act of placing your doubts, your hurts, your questions into the hands of God and saying, even if I do not understand, I will believe. Think of the child who leaps into the arms of a father standing below. The child does not measure the distance, calculate the angle, or question the father's strength. The child jumps because love has taught him that he will be caught. That, beloved, is trust. To leap into God's arms without hesitation because love has already proven itself again and again. And when you trust Him, a miracle happens. Your burden grows lighter. Your steps grow steadier. Your nights grow shorter and your mornings brighter. Trust transforms the way you carry pain. It does not always remove the thorn, but it gives you the strength to dance despite it. It does not always erase the storm, but it gives you the courage to sing in the rain. Trusting God is to shift your eyes from the size of your problem to the greatness of your God. On September 20th, or on any day, this trust becomes the bridge between your need and His supply, between your sorrow and His joy, between your weakness and His power. The date may change, the season may turn, but the principle remains: if you trust Him, He will never leave you where you are. So I urge you, beloved, stand tall in your trust. Lift your trembling hands, even with tears streaming down your face. Whisper it if you cannot shout it. I trust you, Lord. Say it in the morning. Say it at night. Say it when the bills come. Say it when the pain aches. Say it when the doubt creeps in. Say it until your soul begins to believe it. For trust is not just a gift to God. It is a gift to yourself. It is the anchor that steadies you, the shelter that covers you, the fire that warms you when the cold winds blow. And one day when you look back, you will see that every valley led you to a mountain, every tear watered the seeds of your joy, every closed door redirected you to the open gate. You will see that the God you trusted was faithful all along. And you will smile with the wisdom of one who knows trusting God is never wasted, never in vain, never forgotten. It is the foundation upon which miracles are built, the key that unlocks tomorrow's testimony. So, beloved, trust Him today, tomorrow, and forever, for He is worthy of it all. Child, let me sit with you a while and remind you of a truth that life tries to make us forget. What you are going through right now is not what you are destined to remain in. Your situation is not your destiny. The pain you carry today is not the name God has written over your tomorrow. The valley you walk through is not the whole journey, it is only a passageway. Every struggle, every heartbreak, every sleepless night is but a chapter, not the whole book. And, oh beloved, the author of your story has not finished writing yet. Too often we confuse the pit with the palace, the wilderness with the promised land, the storm with the shore. We think that the way it is right now must be the way it will always be. We resign ourselves to brokenness as if it were a permanent condition. But hear me, trouble is temporary. Heartache is passing. Sorrow is seasonal. The God who made time itself has placed an end date on every struggle you face. Think of the seed buried in the soil. For a time it is hidden, pressed down, covered in darkness. If you look at it in that moment, you might say this is its end. But the truth is that burial is not the end. It is the beginning. The soil that covers is also the soil that nourishes. The darkness that hides is the same darkness where roots grow strong. And in the appointed season, that seed breaks forth with green shoots toward the light. So it is with you. What looks like an ending is often a preparation for your rising. What feels like a burial is only planting. Joseph, thrown into the pit by his brothers, might have thought that was his final resting place. Then sold into slavery, then thrown into prison, each chapter darker than the last. Yet none of those places defined his destiny. Each place was a step on the staircase to the palace where he would one day rule. You see, God will allow you to walk through the pit, the prison, the wilderness, not to leave you there, but to strengthen you, to shape you, to prepare you for the promise that awaits. And, child, do not let your current pain trick you into believing it is your permanent identity. If you are sick, do not call yourself broken. If you are broke, do not call yourself cursed. If you are lonely, do not call yourself forgotten. Those are situations, not definitions. They are moments, not identities. The labels of man do not override the calling of God. You are still chosen, still beloved, still destined for greatness. I know the world tries to convince you otherwise. The whispers of doubt say, this is who you are now, weak, defeated, discarded. But God says, you are mine. You are more than a conqueror. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Do not confuse your circumstance with your character, your season with your soul. You may be in the fire, but you are not firewood. You are gold being refined. Your situation is not your destiny, because destiny is written by divine hands, not by temporary trials. What God has ordained for you is greater than any opposition against you. Think of the caterpillar crawling low, earthbound, unseen. Then comes the cocoon, tight, dark, confining. But destiny has wings waiting. That creature's situation screams limitation, but destiny whispers transformation. One day wings unfold and what was crawling becomes soaring. That, beloved, is the miracle of your life too. Even Jesus, our example, walked through moments that seemed like dead ends. Betrayed in a garden, nailed to a cross, sealed in a tomb. If you looked at Friday, you would say, this is the end. If you looked at Saturday, you would say, this is defeat. But God was writing Sunday into the story. The tomb was not the destiny. Resurrection was. And because he rose, you too can rise. Child, lift your eyes above the dust of your struggle. What you see around you is not all there is. Beyond the bill collectors, beyond the doctor's report, beyond the loneliness and the grief, there is a promise. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Your situation may shout despair, but your destiny sings hope. And let me remind you, your trials, though painful, are also purposeful. Every tear waters the soil of your destiny. Every setback trains your heart for perseverance. Every rejection is redirection. The stones thrown at you today may one day build the foundation of your tomorrow. Your destiny does not waste pain, it transforms it. So do not camp in your valley. Do not build a house in your storm. Keep walking, keep pressing, keep believing, because destiny is calling you forward. Destiny is not behind you, it is ahead. And if you keep your eyes on God, He will turn even this present struggle into part of your testimony. Hear me now. The enemy wants you to confuse where you are with where you're going. He wants you to think that a moment of loss is a lifetime of failure. But no weapon formed against you shall prosper. That means the attack may come, the situation may hurt, but it cannot rewrite your destiny. Your destiny is sealed in the blood of Jesus, stamped with the signature of heaven, and no circumstance on earth can erase it. So rise, beloved. Wipe your tears and lift your head. Say to your situation, you may visit me, but you will not define me. You may test me, but you will not break me. I may be bent, but I will not be destroyed, because my destiny is greater than my situation, and my God is greater than both. And one day you will look back and marvel at how far you have come. You will see the hand of God weaving beauty out of brokenness, strength out of weakness, joy out of sorrow. You will say, if I had not walked through that valley, I would not stand on this mountain. If I had not endured that night, I would not see this dawn. And your soul will testify, my situation was not my destiny. God's promise was. So hold fast, beloved. Whatever you face today, let it be your reminder that greater is coming. Let your situation be the soil, and let your destiny be the harvest. For the story is not over, and the best is yet to come. Child, there is a rhythm to the universe, a holy beat that moves through time like a drum calling us forward. Seasons change, tides rise and fall, the moon waxes and wanes, and the stars march across the heavens in their appointed order. So too does the hand of God move in time. There is an appointed moment for everything under the sun, and I want you to know this with all the certainty in your heart. God has a set time for your breakthrough, a day circled on heaven's calendar, a moment when he will rise and say, "Now it is done." September 20th is more than a date on a page. It is a symbol, a reminder that the God who governs the galaxies also governs your steps. He is not random. He is not careless. He is not late. His timing is perfect, even when your waiting feels unbearable. You see, beloved, waiting is the hardest part. We are creatures of urgency, always tapping our feet, checking our watches, wishing for tomorrow to hurry. We want healing now, deliverance now, answers now. But the God who spoke light into darkness is not bound by our clocks. He dwells in eternity, and from that eternal place he arranges the minutes and hours of our lives. And though he may seem delayed to us, he is always right on time. Think of the story of Lazarus. Mary and Martha cried out for Jesus to come because their brother was dying. They wanted him immediately, yet he stayed away for days. By the time he arrived, Lazarus had been in the tomb 4 days. To the sisters it seemed too late, but to God it was exactly the right time. For had Jesus come earlier, he might have healed the sick, but by coming later he raised the dead. God's timing turned a healing into a resurrection, a sickness into a testimony. So when you look at the 20th of September or any day that God has whispered to your spirit, do not see it as mere numbers on a calendar. See it as evidence that heaven has not forgotten you. See it as the divine assurance that while you wait, something is being prepared. Angels are being dispatched. Obstacles are being moved. Hearts are being softened. Doors are being unlocked. What you thought was delay was only divine alignment. Have you ever seen a symphony? The musicians gather, each holding an instrument, each waiting in silence. And then the conductor lifts his hand, and at the appointed moment the music begins. Before that moment there may be silence, even tension, but when the baton falls, harmony fills the air. That is how God works in your life. He is the great conductor, waiting until all things are in their place, all people in their positions, all circumstances tuned to his will. And when his hand falls, the music of your miracle begins. Beloved, do not despise the waiting, for waiting is the womb of blessing. In the waiting, patience is born. In the waiting, faith is strengthened. In the waiting, your spirit learns to lean not on what it sees, but on what it hopes for. And in the fullness of time, when God's appointed moment comes, the blessing will not be premature, nor will it be delayed. It will be right on time, overflowing, undeniable, unshakable. Look at Sarah, who laughed when told she would bear a son in her old age. Her situation screamed impossibility, but God had already marked the time. At the appointed season, he said, "I will return, and Sarah shall have a son." And so it was. Not because of her strength, not because of her planning, but because God had set a time and his word cannot return void. Child, your September 20th may not look like Sarah's or Mary's or Daniel's, but it is yours. It is the day heaven has appointed to remind you that God is mindful of you. It may be the day a long-awaited prayer is answered, the day peace floods your restless heart, the day you feel chains fall off your spirit. Or it may be the day you realize with fresh clarity that God has been carrying you all along. And let us remember, the enemy will try to make you doubt. He will whisper, "It has been too long. God has forgotten you. Nothing will change." But do not listen to lies. For the devil can roar, but he cannot reset God's clock. He can shout, but he cannot stop the hand of the Almighty from moving. God's appointed time cannot be delayed by man, demon, or circumstance. Sometimes, beloved, the delay is not punishment. It is protection. God holds you back because the blessing is not yet safe for you. He withholds because he wants to give you more than you asked for. He pauses because he knows that rushing would harm you. Just as a fruit picked before its season is bitter, so too would a blessing received too soon spoil in your hands. God waits until you are ready, until the soil is rich, until the fruit is sweet. Then in his set time he delivers what is ripe and good. When you feel weary in the waiting, remember the eagle. It waits on the wind, wings stretched motionless in the sky. It does not panic, it does not flap in desperation. It waits because it knows the wind will come, and when it does, the eagle soars higher than before. Be like the eagle, beloved. Wait for the wind of God. Wait for his appointed moment, and then rise on wings like eagles, running without growing weary, walking without fainting. So when September 20th dawns, step into it with expectation. Do not wake with the same sigh of yesterday, but with the hope of today. Say, this is the day the Lord has made, and in this day he has remembered me. Expect favor. Expect peace. Expect the quiet assurance that God's hand is upon your life. For whether your miracle bursts forth in fire or whispers gently in your spirit, the truth will be the same. God has set the time, and the time is now. And if that day passes and the sky does not split with thunder, do not despair. For sometimes the greatest miracles are not loud. Sometimes they are soft shifts in the soul, gentle movements in the heart, silent rearrangements in the unseen world. Trust that whatever God has spoken, he will do. The set time may begin on September 20th, but it will ripple through the days to come like waves upon the shore. Beloved, the seasons of life will come and go, but God's appointed time will always prevail. So wait with courage, wait with faith, wait with expectation. For when the hour strikes, you will not be able to deny it was the Lord's doing. And you will lift your hands, your voice trembling with gratitude, and declare, he was not late. He was right on time. My God remembered me. Child, prayer is not a whisper into empty air. Prayer is not a ritual of words spoken into the void. Prayer is the sacred language of the soul reaching out to its Creator. It is the bridge between earth and heaven, the cord that ties the weary heart to the eternal throne. And when you pray, truly pray, you are placing your burdens, your brokenness, your fears into the hands of the Almighty, and that, beloved, is where transformation begins. I have lived long enough to know that prayer is not always about the eloquence of words or the length of time. It is not about how many eyes are closed in the room, nor how loud the voice rises in the crowd. Prayer is about surrender. It is about the trembling moment when you admit, I cannot fix this by myself. I cannot carry this any longer. Lord, I give it to you. That is when prayer becomes power. That is when heaven bends its ear, and the angels take flight to carry your petitions into the very presence of God. Think of Hannah, who went year after year, barren and burdened, mocked and misunderstood. Her lips moved in silent prayer, tears falling like rivers, and people thought she was drunk. But heaven knew her cry, and when she laid her sorrow before God, he turned her barrenness into blessing. Samuel was born not because she argued with men, but because she poured her heart before her Maker. Child, when you pour out before God, he pours back into you. Prayer transforms not only situations, but souls. You may kneel down heavy with worry and rise up light with peace. You may go into your secret closet shaking with fear and come out walking with courage. Prayer does not always change the outside immediately, but it always changes the inside. And when the inside changes, the outside will eventually follow. For the peace that passes understanding is not given by circumstance, it is given by God. Many people treat prayer as a last resort. They try everything else first: money, friends, plans, strategies, and when all of that crumbles, they finally whisper, Lord, help me. But child, prayer was never meant to be the last rope we grab. Prayer is the first key to unlock the door. It is not the fire extinguisher behind glass for emergencies only. It is the daily bread, the living water, the breath of our spirit. When you start with prayer, you begin with power. There is a secret to prayer too. It is not only asking, but trusting. Not only speaking, but listening. Not only presenting your needs, but also laying down your will. Jesus himself in the Garden of Gethsemane prayed with sweat like blood falling from his brow. And what did he say? Not my will, but yours be done. Prayer at its highest form is surrender. It is the trust that says, God, I want this, but if you choose otherwise, I will still follow. I desire this, but if you deny it, I will still believe. That kind of prayer unlocks heaven's best, because it puts your heart in alignment with God's perfect will. Child, when you pray, do not underestimate the power of your words. The Bible says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. That means your whispered "help me" shakes the foundations of hell. Your quiet "thank you" rises as incense before the throne. Your tear-soaked "Lord, I can't" is translated into power by the Spirit Himself, who intercedes with groanings too deep for words. There is no such thing as a wasted prayer. And let me remind you, prayer is not bound by place or time. You can pray in the sanctuary with stained glass shining around you, or you can pray in the kitchen with dishes piled high. You can pray in the hospital bed, the prison cell, the workplace, the field. Prayer travels beyond walls, beyond locks, beyond chains. It reaches where your hands cannot, touches what your strength cannot, heals what your doctors cannot. Prayer goes where you cannot go, and does what you cannot do. Sometimes prayer is not answered in the way you expect, but it is always answered in the way you need. You may pray for a door to open, and God may close it tighter, because beyond that door lies harm you cannot yet see. You may pray for a relationship to last, and God may end it, because He knows your destiny requires freedom. You may pray for wealth, and He may instead give you wisdom, because wisdom will lead you to blessings that money alone cannot hold. Trust, child, that every prayer is heard, and every answer is wrapped in God's perfect love. And know this: prayer is not weakness. Some may mock, saying, "All you do is pray." But those who pray hold more power than those who fight with fists or argue with tongues. Prayer calls on the one who holds the universe in his hands. Prayer summons armies of angels. Prayer shifts atmospheres. Nations have been saved by prayer. Wars have been halted, storms calmed, plagues stopped. Lives spared, not by swords, not by speeches, but by prayer. Think of Daniel, who prayed 3 times a day, even when the law forbade it. His enemies threw him into a lion's den, thinking they had silenced his prayers. But God sent an angel to shut the mouths of lions. Daniel prayed, and God preserved him. Think of Paul and Silas, beaten and bound in a prison cell. They lifted their voices in prayer and song, and at midnight the ground shook. The doors swung open, and their chains fell loose. Prayer turned captivity into freedom. So, beloved, let prayer be your habit, not your hobby. Let it be your daily rhythm, not your occasional refuge. When you wake, whisper "thank you." When you walk, murmur "guide me." When you face trouble, cry "help me." When you find joy, shout "praise you." Let prayer lace itself through every breath you take, until your whole life becomes a conversation with the one who made you. And on September 20th, or any day marked as holy for you, bow your head, lift your heart, and place everything, your doubts, your debts, your sickness, your dreams, into God's hands. Say, "Lord, I release it all to you. I cannot fix it, but I trust you can. I cannot see the way, but I know you are the way. I cannot carry this, but I know you are my strength." And watch as peace floods your being like a river, as strength rises in your bones, as hope blooms again in your chest. Prayer is the act of placing your life in the hands of God and trusting that those hands will never drop you, never harm you, never abandon you. Those hands carved the mountains, poured the seas, painted the sky with stars. Surely they can carry you. Surely they can fix what is broken. Surely they can lift what is heavy. Surely they can heal what is wounded. So pray, child. Pray without ceasing. Pray without doubting. Pray until your tears turn into laughter, your sighs into songs, your fear into faith. For prayer is the key and God is the answer. And when you pray, truly pray, you will find that your situation may not change overnight, but you will. And when you change, the world around you will have no choice but to follow. Child, when the Lord touches your situation, it is not just about you. No, it is never just about you. When God steps into the storms of your life and says, "Peace, be still," He is setting in motion a testimony that will reach far beyond your doorstep, far beyond your weary heart, and far beyond the tears you thought were hidden in the midnight hour. The fixing of your situation is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the moment when your story, once weighed down by sorrow and silence, becomes a song that heals, a poem that inspires, a fire that warms another soul walking through the cold night of despair. You see, testimony is not whispered in secret. Testimony is the loud declaration of God's faithfulness. Testimony is a river that overflows its banks, carrying with it the evidence that God has not abandoned his children. And when he fixes your situation, he writes his name across your life like a signature on a masterpiece. People will look at you and say, "How did she rise? How did he endure? How did they smile again?" And your answer will not come from your strength nor from your wisdom, but from the simple truth, "The Lord fixed it for me." Think of the countless souls who walked before us with heavy burdens on their backs. The mother with an empty cupboard who yet managed to feed her children because a neighbor knocked at the door with bread. The man who thought his last breath would be drawn in sorrow, yet found healing in the touch of God. The broken heart mended by a whisper of grace. Their stories live on, not because of their pain, but because God lifted them and they chose to speak. And when they spoke, their words became light for others stumbling in darkness. That is the power of a testimony. Beloved, when God fixes your situation, you must tell it. Not to boast, not to glorify yourself, but to magnify his goodness. Silence may keep your dignity, but testimony gives another person life. A young girl on the verge of giving up might hear your words and find courage to try again. A man lost in the wilderness of addiction might see your deliverance and believe freedom is possible for him too. A weary soul praying in the quiet may find their answer in your story, realizing that if God did it for you, surely he can do it for them. Your testimony becomes a seed, and when that seed is planted in the soil of another person's heart, it grows into hope. Hope is contagious. Hope spreads like wildflowers in spring, pushing through the hard ground of despair, reaching for the sun of God's promise. That is why your story matters. That is why your deliverance is not the end of the tale, but the beginning of a new chapter written for others to read. Do not despise the struggle that preceded your breakthrough, for without the weight of the cross, there can be no glory in the resurrection. People will see your scars and ask about them. They will lean closer, wanting to know how you survived, how you overcame. And when you share the truth that it was God, always God, they will see him in your survival. Your testimony becomes a mirror, reflecting his light into the shadows of their lives. And child, let us not forget, testimony strengthens not only others but you. When you speak of what the Lord has done, your own faith is renewed. You remind yourself that the same God who carried you yesterday is the same God walking beside you today, and he is already preparing your tomorrow. The telling becomes a form of worship, a way of lifting your hands without music, a way of bowing your heart without kneeling. It is gratitude made audible, thanksgiving given breath. Oh, and how powerful it is when the community testifies together. When voices rise in unison to declare the goodness of God, the very air shifts. Chains begin to fall. Burdens begin to lift. Testimony creates an atmosphere where miracles multiply. Your story links arms with my story, and suddenly we are no longer isolated pilgrims on separate roads. We are a choir, harmonizing the melody of God's faithfulness. Now, there will be those who doubt, those who say your testimony is nothing but coincidence, chance, or human effort. Let them talk. Let them analyze, let them debate. But you know, deep in your marrow, you know it was God who pulled you through. And your knowing cannot be silenced by their doubt. For truth needs no defense, it simply needs to be lived and told. Remember, too, that your testimony is not bound to the grand miracles only. Sometimes the greatest witness is not in the dramatic parting of seas, but in the quiet endurance of the storm. The fact that you kept walking when your feet were blistered. The fact that you kept believing when your eyes saw no evidence, that itself is a testimony. You lived when you could have died. You smiled when you could have surrendered to sorrow. You forgave when bitterness was easier. That too is God fixing your situation, weaving his strength into the fabric of your weakness. So let the world see your joy after sorrow. Let them hear the laughter that rose from the ashes of your mourning. Let them witness the peace that makes no sense, the peace that surpasses understanding. For in those glimpses they see the hand of God at work. And when they ask how, Your answer is simple. Trust God, for He fixed my situation, and He will fix yours too. Child, mark my words. Your testimony will travel further than you think. It will leap across borders, generations, and circumstances. The echo of God's goodness in your life will ring in places you will never set foot, in hearts you will never meet. That is the eternal ripple of a soul that dared to speak of God's power. So when the Lord lifts you, when He restores you, when He turns your midnight into morning, do not hold it tight to your chest. Share it, sing it, shout it if you must. Because the testimony is not just for you, it is the gift you give to the world. And in giving it, you honor the one who fixed it all. Now go forth with your story burning like a lantern in the night. Hold it high so that others may find the path. And know that every time you testify, heaven nods in agreement, for you are adding your voice to the great chorus of witnesses who declare God is faithful, God is able, God will fix it.